Welcome back, thrill seekers. Today, we're venturing into the haunting, rain-drenched world of Seven, where fear, suspense, and the seven deadly sins lurk in every corner. Imagine a city plagued by darkness, where two detectives face off against a killer who turns morality into his own twisted masterpiece. This isn't just a crime thriller. Seven peels back the layers of human nature and drags us into a relentless, pulse-pounding exploration of guilt, punishment, and the fragility of justice. So, hold on tight as we dive deep into one of the most haunting films ever made and uncover the disturbing truths hidden in Seven. Seven, 1995, directed by David Fincher, is a disturbing psychological thriller that explores themes of morality, justice, and human depravity. Set in a nameless, perpetually rain-soaked city, the film follows detectives William Somerset and David Mills as they investigate a series of gruesome murders, each reflecting one of the seven deadly sins: gluttony, greed, sloth, lust, pride, envy, and wrath. The killer, John Doe, orchestrates these murders as twisted punishments, aiming to expose the world's hypocrisy and moral decay. With its grim tone and complex narrative layers, Seven is a meditation on the darkness within human nature and society. The seven deadly sins, as reflection of society's corruption. Each murder is meticulously designed to represent one of the seven deadly sins, illustrating how John Doe believes humanity is riddled with moral corruption. He views his victims as symbols rather than individuals, embodying society's worst excesses: gluttony and overindulgence, greed and materialism, and so on. This structure frames the city itself as a breeding ground for moral degradation, where even good intentions are drowned out by vice and decay. John Doe's targets are not exceptional cases. Rather, they are exaggerated versions of vices present in everyone, according to Doe's worldview. The deadly sins are not isolated but pervasive, making his victims more than just individuals. They are symbols for universally flawed traits. This philosophy, however, is hypocritical, as John Doe himself succumbs to envy and wrath, highlighting his own vulnerability to sin and underlining the pervasive nature of these flaws. The moral ambiguity of justice. John Doe sees himself as an agent of moral justice, revealing society's ugliness by punishing those he deems guilty of sins. He uses twisted vigilantism, setting himself up as judge, jury, and executioner. This moral ambiguity questions the nature of justice. Is it merely punishment for wrongdoing, or does true justice require empathy and reform? Doe's idea of justice is absolute, with no room for forgiveness, contrasting sharply with Somerset's more nuanced, weary perspective. The two detectives represent contrasting philosophies of justice. Somerset, jaded and introspective, believes in the complexities of human nature and the need for cautious compassion. Mills, in contrast, is impulsive and quick to anger, viewing the world in black and white. Their partnership explores the tension between justice as a measured, reflective process, Somerset's approach, and as a reactionary, emotionally driven response, Mills' approach, ultimately showing the dangers of each extreme. The darkness of humanity and society's decay. The film's setting, a grim, rain-soaked city shrouded in darkness, acts as a character in itself, reflecting the character's emotional states and the pervasive sense of moral decay. The city's bleak, oppressive atmosphere serves as a visual metaphor for the deterioration of social values and human kindness, where violence and corruption are common, and hope feels unreachable. Somerset's character represents a philosophical worldview that questions whether humanity can overcome its inherent darkness. His cynical outlook, shaped by years of witnessing society's worst crimes, contrasts with Mills's idealistic belief that justice and righteousness can triumph over evil. Somerset's gradual acceptance of Mills and his mentorship reflect his internal struggle to retain faith in humanity, even as he confronts overwhelming evidence of its flaws. Psychological horror and the nature of fear. John Doe's killings are designed to instill fear not only in his victims but in society at large. He doesn't just kill. He orchestrates symbolic murders that terrify and horrify, aiming to shock people into moral reflection. This manipulation of fear is part of his attempt to force self-awareness on society, mirroring the tactics of a zealot who believes fear can purify. The entire investigation is a psychological trap for the detectives, especially Mills, whose impulsive and emotionally driven nature makes him the perfect victim for Doe's plan. John Doe's control over the narrative gives him psychological power, playing on the detectives' moral and emotional vulnerabilities and forcing them to confront their own ethical boundaries and sense of justice. Moral decay versus hope in Somerset's perspective. Somerset, tired and ready to retire, sees the city's moral decay as an endless cycle. His experiences have made him doubt whether there's any hope for change. However, his reluctant partnership with Mills begins to rekindle a faint hope in humanity. This theme of lingering hope amidst overwhelming darkness is a subtle layer, as Somerset grapples with whether his disillusionment is the only way to face a corrupt world, or if he can allow himself to believe in the potential for good. The film's closing line, Somerset quoting Hemingway, "The world is a fine place and worth fighting for," echoes his internal struggle between cynicism and hope. While he only partially agrees with the statement, it's a reminder that, even in a world full of darkness, there may still be something worth protecting, suggesting a faint glimmer of hope that even the worst crimes and horrors can't completely eradicate. The philosophical debate on good and evil poses the question of whether it's possible to face true evil without being tainted by it. Mills's descent into wrath demonstrates how a relentless pursuit of justice, when fueled by anger and vengeance, can corrupt even the best intentions. This clash between good and evil becomes morally gray, as Somerset's and Mill's differing responses to Doe's crimes reveal that confronting evil often brings one dangerously close to becoming part of it. The nature of evil. The film presents a chilling exploration of what constitutes evil. John Doe embodies the idea that evil is not just an external force, but something rooted in human nature. His motivations arise from a profound disillusionment with society, suggesting that evil can be a product of one's environment and experiences rather than an inherent trait. Doe's actions challenge the characters and viewers to consider the nature of morality. His philosophical perspective posits that societal norms are hypocritical, leading to a questioning of what truly defines good and evil. This theme complicates the moral framework within which the characters operate, blurring the lines between justice and vengeance, isolation and connection. Somerset's character embodies the theme of isolation. His intellectual and emotional distance from others is evident in his interactions, as he struggles to find meaningful connections in a world he perceives as hopeless. His cynicism often isolates him, yet it is also a protective mechanism against the overwhelming darkness he sees in humanity. Mills, in contrast, represents the potential for connection and emotional engagement. His relationship with Tracy shows the value of personal bonds in confronting life's horrors. The film underscores the idea that human connection can provide solace and strength against despair, even in a dark world. Tragedy of the innocent Tracy serves as a symbol of innocence, and her tragic fate acts as a catalyst for Mills's transformation. Her death not only solidifies Mills's descent into despair, but also serves as a stark reminder of the collateral damage that results from John Doe's twisted agenda. Tracy's character highlights the vulnerability of innocence in a corrupt world. The film presents life as fragile and precious, with Tracy's murder underscoring the randomness of violence in the face of evil. Her character serves as a tragic reminder that those who embody hope and goodness can be easily lost in a world consumed by darkness. Symbolism of the 7 deadly sins. Each sin represented in the murders serves as a commentary on societal flaws. For instance, gluttony and greed highlight issues of excess and materialism in modern society, while sloth critiques apathy towards societal issues. This thematic richness allows the film to serve as both a psychological thriller and a social critique. The film suggests that the sins are not just actions, but inherent traits within humanity. By depicting characters embodying these sins, forces the audience to confront their own shortcomings and societal values, creating a sense of discomfort and self-reflection. The dystopian setting. The film's bleak, rain-soaked urban setting enhances its themes of despair and moral decay. The oppressive atmosphere serves as a reflection of the characters' internal struggles and societal decay, reinforcing the idea that the environment itself can shape human behavior and morality. The city functions almost as a character in its own right, emphasizing the isolation and anonymity of its inhabitants. This isolation reinforces the idea that individuals can become lost in a sea of moral ambiguity, where evil can thrive unnoticed. Wrath and envy. The twisted finale. The culmination of the 7 deadly sins murders occurs when John Doe reveals his own sin, envy, and orchestrates a scenario that pushes Mills into wrath, making him the final sinner. By murdering Mills's wife, Tracy, Doe forces Mills into a position where he will inevitably act on his anger, fulfilling the sin of wrath. This brutal manipulation not only completes Doe's twisted masterpiece, but also forces Mills to confront his own capacity for darkness. Doe's entire philosophy is exposed as hypocritical in his final act. By admitting his envy of Mills's life and relationship, Doe reveals his own susceptibility to the very sins he condemns. His manipulation of Mills into wrath undermines his justification for the murders, as it shows that he is driven by the same impulses he seeks to punish. This irony underlines the idea that moral absolutism is flawed, and that trying to judge others' sins without introspection can lead to one's own downfall. Conclusion. The film's ending, where Mills kills Doe, is not cathartic but tragic. Rather than serving as justice, it leaves Mills destroyed and broken, having been manipulated into a personal hell by succumbing to wrath. The message here is that vengeance doesn't heal. Instead, it consumes and leaves emptiness. This ending, which denies traditional heroism, critiques the concept of revenge as a means of closure, and suggests that true resolution might lie in restraint, empathy, or even acceptance of human flaws.